Life feels uncertain, unpredictable, and fast-changing. But Morgan Housel, in his book Same as Ever, shows us the truth. What matters most has never changed. Risk, patience, gratitude, courage, these forces guide us through every generation. The world will always change, but the foundations of a good life are timeless. Same as Ever is your reminder to focus on what lasts forever. Beyond the cover, exploring timeless wisdom, life lessons, and inspiration from the world's greatest books. Life is often seen as unpredictable, full of risks, opportunities, and changes we can never fully foresee. But if you look deeper, the truth is that most of what truly matters doesn't change. Human nature, our desires, our fears, our struggles, and the way we react to circumstances, those are the same today as they were centuries ago. And when you realize this, you stop chasing predictions and start anchoring yourself to what is timeless. What never changes is often the greatest teacher, the greatest guide to a good life. People often ask, what's going to change in the next 10 years? But far better question is, what will stay the same? Because it is those constants that shape our daily lives. Think about it. People will always seek love, belonging, respect, and security. People will always underestimate risk when things are going well and panic when things fall apart. People will always desire more than they need and then discover that happiness does not come from accumulation but from clarity. These truths are the same as ever. And yet, in chasing what's new, we forget what is eternal. We drown in trends, predictions, forecasts. But wisdom lies in recognizing that human behavior doesn't rewrite itself with every generation. It is only dressed differently. Empires fall and rise, markets collapse and recover. Technologies transform the world, but fear, greed, hope, ambition, envy, love, these are permanent companions of humanity. If you understand them, you understand life. Living a good life does not require mastering everything new. It requires recognizing the patterns that never fade. The biggest risks we face are rarely the ones written in headlines. They're the quiet risks, the hidden ones, the ones inside us, complacency, arrogance, impatience. And the greatest opportunities are also the same as ever. Patience, discipline, kindness, courage. The tools may change, the environment may shift, but the core never does. You see, the challenge of our generation is not information. We have more information than any humans before us. The challenge is wisdom. And wisdom is rarely about knowing what's next. It's about remembering what has always been. Wisdom is knowing that the same emotions that built fortunes in the past will destroy them in the future if we let them. It's knowing that risk never disappears. It only changes its costume. It's knowing that gratitude will always create more happiness than ambition alone. The reason we admire people who remain calm under pressure, who live with integrity, who choose patience over panic, is because these qualities have always been rare. They are difficult, but they are timeless. And when you cultivate them, you stand on the firm ground of life, no matter how stormy the weather becomes. The storms will always come. That too is timeless. But what you choose in the middle of the storm determines whether you break or you grow. Most of us overestimate what changes and underestimate what doesn't. We believe technology, wealth, politics, or fame will rewrite the rules of life. But no invention will erase the reality of envy. No political movement will remove the human desire for recognition. No new tool will eliminate the fear of loss. And no amount of money will give a person peace who has not learned to be content. These are constants. These are the same as ever. And this is liberating. Because once you stop chasing predictions, you start focusing on principles. You stop asking how to predict the storm, and you start asking how to build a ship that can survive any storm. That's the secret. Not foresight, but resilience. Not trying to guess what tomorrow looks like, but preparing yourself for whatever tomorrow brings. When you measure yourself against others, you'll always feel behind. But when you measure yourself against what is timeless, you begin to live in alignment with the truth. You realize that the goal is not to be richer than your neighbor, but to be wiser than you were yesterday. You realize that the greatest opportunity is not winning the lottery of life, but practicing gratitude every single day. You realize that the real risk is not missing out on the next big trend, but losing yourself in the pursuit of things that do not matter. The world will keep telling you to chase the next opportunity. It will sell you speed, urgency, novelty. But the good life has always been built on the same foundations: honesty, patience, courage, humility, kindness. These are the treasures that will never go out of style, never lose their value, never fade in power. And if you can live by them, then no matter how the world changes around you, you will always be rich in the ways that matter. We live in an age where change is celebrated, where disruption is glorified, where the future feels like the only thing worth chasing. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, has the human heart really changed? Has the rhythm of fear and hope, gain and loss, truly shifted? The answer is no. The language of technology evolves. The tools look different. The speed is faster. But the underlying desires, mistakes, and virtues are the same as ever. Think about ambition. Centuries ago, kings and conquerors wanted to expand their lands, to be remembered as powerful. Today, entrepreneurs and leaders want to expand their companies, to be remembered as influential. The canvas changes, but the paint is the same. If you understand ambition, if you understand the human hunger for recognition and security, you understand both the past and the present. That's why studying what stays the same is more powerful than trying to forecast what comes next. The same applies to risk. Every generation believes their risks are unique. But the truth is, risk always hides in plain sight. It's the overconfidence in good times. It's the blind spot we refuse to acknowledge. It's the belief that tomorrow will look just like today. Risk doesn't need to be new to be dangerous. It just needs to be forgotten. And that is why humility and preparation are timeless virtues. The people who thrive are not those who can predict the storm, but those who respect its inevitability. And opportunity? It has always been there for those willing to see differently. Opportunity is rarely about luck. It is about patience, discipline, and the willingness to do what others are unwilling to do. In a world that is constantly in a rush, slowing down becomes an opportunity. In a world chasing complexity, simplicity becomes an opportunity. In a world full of noise, focus becomes an opportunity. These truths don't age. They don't expire. They remain the same as ever. Living a good life is less about accumulating and more about understanding. More about seeing clearly than running quickly. More about remembering the basics when everyone else is distracted by the new. Happiness has always been tied less to what you own and more to how you think. People with little have found joy, and people with everything have found emptiness. That paradox is not new. It is the same as ever, and it teaches us that gratitude, perspective, and humility matter far more than possessions. We make the mistake of believing that the world's speed demands our speed, that complexity demands complexity. But in truth, the faster the world spins, the more valuable calmness becomes. The noisier life gets, the more powerful silence becomes. The more chaotic the environment, the more priceless wisdom becomes. These are constants. These are treasures that no technology, no shift, no revolution can erase. If you want a compass for life, don't ask what's trending. Ask what's eternal. Don't chase the next new thing. Chase the principles that have guided humanity through centuries of chaos and uncertainty. What are those principles? Integrity, patience, self-awareness, empathy, courage. They have never gone out of style. They never will. And they're always within your reach, no matter who you are or where you start. Here's the irony. People spend their lives preparing for what might change, but neglect what never changes. They build careers around industries, but not character. They invest in tools, but not in wisdom. They prepare for competition, but not for envy. They train for growth, but not for humility. And when the inevitable challenges come, it is not the lack of knowledge that breaks them. It is a lack of grounding in timeless truths. So if you want to live a life that feels steady in a world of noise, anchor yourself to things that have always mattered. Respect the power of risk. Honor the weight of gratitude. Treasure your relationships. Protect your integrity. Nurture patience. The people who lived 500 years ago needed these just as much as you do today. And the people who will live 500 years from now will need them too. Because these are not trends. They are truths. They are the same as ever. There will always be voices that tell you to chase more, to run faster, to reach higher. The world will always glorify the future as if it holds the secret to happiness. But pause and remind yourself, people have always chased the horizon, and those who finally find peace are the ones who realize that the horizon was never the answer. The answer was learning to walk with clarity today. What you choose today, how you think today, who you become today, that has always been the foundation of a meaningful life. If you want to build resilience, stop waiting for certainty. Certainty has never existed. Every generation before you face uncertainty, fear, and doubt. And yet, people endured, people created, people loved, people grew. They did not conquer uncertainty. They learned to live alongside it. The skill of living well is not eliminating risk. It is respecting it. It is knowing that nothing is promised, and yet still choosing to move forward with courage. That has always been the way, and it always will be. Success, too, is not as mysterious as it looks. Strip away the myths, and you'll see the pattern repeated across time. Success belongs to those who remain consistent when others quit, to those who stay disciplined when others are distracted, to those who hold on to humility when success tempts them with arrogance. It has never been about brilliance alone. It has always been about persistence, resilience, and character. The names of successful may change, the industries may change, but the principles remain the same. And what about happiness? People have searched for it in wealth, in recognition, in power, in possessions. Centuries pass, and the search continues. But those who have truly found it always return to the same truths. Happiness is found in gratitude, in connection, in purpose, in presence. It is found not in having everything, but in seeing the value of what you already have. That is why some of the richest people feel poor, and some of the poorest feel rich. Because happiness has never been about more. It has always been about enough. Look back at history. Generations before us faced wars, plagues, revolutions, financial crises, technological shifts. And yet, what guided people through was never prediction. It was never knowing the exact details of what would come next. It was their ability to rely on what has always been true. Courage, patience, community, love, resilience. These qualities built civilizations, carried families, and sustained individuals through unimaginable hardship. And they are the same qualities that will carry you forward, no matter what the future looks like. So here's the real question. Are you living by what changes, or are you living by what stays the same? If you chase trends, you'll always be behind. If you chase predictions, you'll always be uncertain. But if you ground yourself in timeless truths, you'll find stability in chaos, direction in confusion, and peace in a restless world. Remember this. Risk will always exist, but so will courage. Opportunity will always exist, but so will patience. Struggle will always exist, but so will resilience. Envy will always exist, but so will gratitude. These pairs are eternal. They are the same as ever. And your choice, every day, is which side you'll lean toward. You don't need to wait for the future to be better. You don't need to predict what tomorrow holds. You need to decide today who you will be. You need to choose gratitude over greed, patience over panic, integrity over shortcuts, love over indifference. These choices are not glamorous, they are not dramatic, but they are powerful, and they have been shaping good lives for centuries. The truth is, the world changes less than we think, and people change even less, which means that the path to a good life has been here all along, waiting for us to notice. And when you finally see it, when you finally embrace it, you realize that the secret was never hidden. It was always in front of you. It is the same as ever. Thanks for listening. Remember, the world changes, but the lessons that lead to a good life stay the same. Subscribe to Beyond the Cover for more timeless wisdom and inspiration.